What is going on, guys? Welcome back. Commentary for you tonight. I tell you, I got so many requests, emails, tweets, messages about this little piece of paper. I ignored it for a little while, but it just got overwhelming. So this, if you haven't seen it, is a snippet of a report or a diatribe on this, if you will. A lot of people have went through and examined this and, in my opinion, overanalyzed the information that's presented, which isn't much. But I wanted to give you my opinion on it and just say, first and foremost, everyone is welcome to their own opinion. I don't have a very negative opinion of this, and that may shock some of you, but let's go through how I draw that conclusion. We'll work forward from there. This is titled Dynamic Difficulty Adjustment for Maximized Engagement in Digital Games. Dynamic Difficulty Adjustment being surmised as DDA. And yes, there are 5 EA employees that pen this, but again, it's more than likely an EA commission report, so what else would we expect? So, DDA, they describe it here as a technique for adaptively changing a game to make it harder or easier to eliminate boredom or frustration. And to me, a lot of this, I'm going to err on the side of being used for good, not evil, because I think if we understand a good game, a good experience would lend itself to a more played game, a more enjoyed game, and the likely repurchase of a game. That would be EA's overall goal. It would not be their goal to make a game exceedingly frustrating, exceedingly difficult, and make you want to turn the game off. So that's my impression of this initially right off the bat. You can feel free to disagree with that, but from a financial perspective, it doesn't make sense to make the game less enjoyable. With that said, they've noted a 9% improvement in player engagement with a neutral impact on monetization, which we assume is from a DLC. We assume catering this to Madden would be MUT packs, but we're not sure. It could be based on other games and different levels and things like that. But let's again keep in mind, a neutral impact on monetization may mean we're making the game easier, but we're also not deterring people from wanting to go buy a better player. Now, when I talk about the positives of this, we have to understand, and maybe we even have to take a step back and understand that players have a wide variety, as it mentions here, of experience, skills, learning rate, and playing styles. We also have a differing set of expectations of what we want from a game, and those may not always go hand in hand with a static difficulty. So when you tell me you need me to throw a pass for 50 yards, my initial impression is play action, shotgun, launch the ball deep on a lob pass. Someone else's interpretation may be goal line formation, run everyone down the field, roll out, avoid all the blockers, chuck the ball deep. Another person's impression may be Hail Mary trips, no protection on the line, just get all my receivers out there, let me get the ball in the open field, and I'll make up the 45 yards on a 5-yard curl. So we're dealing with variables that don't always make sense to us because they contradict how we play the game. So it doesn't mean that that 50-yard reception or that 50-yard completion of pass doesn't always come the same way we think it does, and inherently doesn't mean that EA isn't trying to adapt the game to make it just as an accessible goal for player A versus player B. And I think we've all also experienced this in a game in one way or another where we go to play through a segment, and I'll just use Madden to keep it continual. You try to play through a game in a season, or you try to play through a segment in Madden Ultimate Team, and you don't do well. So maybe you go out and you look for a tutorial or a walkthrough. And what that person did doesn't actually help you complete the level either, so you just continue to try to chug along, and at some point, something happens. Whether you view it as sheer luck or not, you get an interception, you have a fumble that you recover, the offense does something exceedingly stupid, and while you're sitting here and saying, oh, thankfully I finally beat this, you know, the game in the background may have just, I guess no other way to describe it, but, gave you a gimme. Said, okay, you paid your dues on this. We don't want you to continue to sit at this level because we need you to progress forward to maintain your engagement. And we're going to let the offense make a mistake that's going to contribute to you continuing along. I don't know how that is ever going to be proven. I don't know how people can look back and say a random event didn't initiate the whole process of you winning and prove to you that the game knew how many times you had inherently tried something without a positive result. So it just decided that no matter what you did, the game was going to give you that positive result. We're kind of right back to rubber band AI here. You know, when you're up by 16, you've got the other team shut out. How do they miraculously score that field goal or that touchdown, or they return that kick? Is that the game saying, well, for maximum enjoyment, the user doesn't want to play a shutout, so we're going to make this team unstoppable? It's kind of a ridiculous concept to think about. And if we really have one issue, if I really have one issue with this, it's the paying player. And I'm not the paying player, mind you. Because when we're having this discussion, we need to come to the understanding that someone is paying the most money. In all of us, there is one person that pays the most money for Madden Ultimate Team. Does that person not then have the right to have the best team? That is the underlying question. Because you can surmise that question's answer in any other form of life. I mean, think about it. Does the person who is not willing to pay the most amount of money for a car deserve to have the fastest car? Or does that deserve the most luxurious car? Does the person who does not have the most money to spend on a watch deserve to have the most meticulously crafted watch possible? In many cases as a society, we agree yes. The money you spend equates to the product that you are delivered. So the person here that's spending the most, our argument essentially becomes, does he deserve to be the best because he spent the most money, or do we deserve to curtail his experience by deterring his player's success so that everyone else that did not spend as much as he did can have the same enjoyment because they have to play against him? That, to me, is a realistic interpretation of what this is talking about. How do you maintain enjoyment for everyone when everyone is on a different playing field as far as the financial, mental capabilities? I don't see where this is a bad thing. And I don't see this as something where EA is going to say, okay, every bad player is now good. Every good player will now be made bad because we have to get everyone on the same page because that's when the money is going to be made. And if that's the conversation we're having, then by all means, we have a playable football game. And to me right now, I've got a channel with a catalog of videos that shows we don't have a playing football game, at least from a simulation football perspective. So my friends, until we get to that point, all of this becomes a moot conversation and one not worth having. EA can do whatever they want, and I promise you they are not the only ones extrapolating the information from their game to determine a way to make players stay with the game and enjoy the game more. But I do know if they're extrapolating that information from my channel, or your comments, or our gameplay, their concerns are not going to be, how do we get maximum engagement of buying packs? Their engagement will be, how do we fix the broken game that we have? Love to know your thoughts on my opinion of this. I appreciate you checking this out, and you know that I'll be back in the week with more commentary.